Hey, how's it going? Welcome to Build Days Week 2 recap. Well, my recap, anyways. This is what I did over the past week. Day 8 was spent making the last recap video, where I learned a lot about Resolve. I ran into many issues, and I learned that if you shoot and edit all of your B-roll into sequences and then try to record your A-roll and fit that inside of your B-roll, you may as well just start over. So I had a lot of trouble with that. I got through it, but I found it pretty unpredictable. Like as I'm choosing my A-roll shots, where it's going to land in the timeline, it was just really tricky. So I think as a result of that, I shot a lot less this week. I also got in the ND filter for the GoPro. My first tests with it were like, wait a second, these settings are not working the way I expected. And just, it's been a nightmare. And I barely used that camera this week. Day 9 is when I built side panels for the Behringer Edge. So it comes with basically these wooden panels that are about the same size as the Edge. There's rubber feet on the bottom, so they're not like holding up. But I had some scrap wood and I wanted a more of a tabletop use. It needed to be angled. And so scrap wood, I shot a whole sequence and I think it turned out pretty good.
Damn it! Oh, I just feel my whole. Didn't it go first to anime?
Mostly all hand tools, except for drilling some holes. That was power drill. But other than that, chisels, saws, hand tool woodworking. And it was a lot of fun. Day 10, I basically was in consumption mode. I was just obsessively watching every video I could, scrolling Instagram, just having a shitty day, basically. I don't believe I actually did anything. My streak of biking every day has been lost, unfortunately. That really sucked, and I didn't really have anything to show for it. Played with Resolve, tweaked my keyboard assignments, which is a good thing, but like it's not like an all-day project sort of thing. Not much to show for that. Day 11, staining and waxing the side panels of the Behringer Edge that I made. On day 9, so I used an ebonizing stain, which is just you corrode some steel wool in vinegar. Depending on the type of wood and how many coats of it you do, it darkens it. And sometimes it goes completely black, depending on, I think it's the tannins in the wood that actually matters. But it can go from sort of a light brown all the way up to black, which is pretty cool. For all of my woodworking tools and a lot of other things around the house, anything wood that needs a coating, I created a paste wax, which is just paraffin wax as well as mineral oil. And you just mix those together in a double boiler, and I poured that into some molds to make kind of a brick. I think I made 3 or 4 of them my last batch, and I'm just about done the first one, and I have waxed a ton of stuff. I've waxed an entire countertop. My coffee station has a plywood top on a steel frame, like a wire rack. Planed and sanded that and then waxed it, and that's been a really pretty good protective coating. It's not getting stained and stuff like that. So anyways, I did that with the side panels. I left a little bit of that blue paint on there because you got to respect the scrap. It came from scrap wood. On day 11, I also took a bike ride, went up to the mall, and also went to this used tool shop. We call it Deals for You. I don't know if that's actually the name of the shop. The receipt says it's not junk, so I don't really know what the name of the shop is, but got some random stuff. This carbide scribe, I guess you would call it, is really cool. It can etch in like anything. Yeah, it's been handy. Similar to I've got a bunch of ice picks and awls, and that's fitting in with that kind of gear. I'm pretty happy with the shot I got zooming into that tray. That was a tilt head on my tripod along with the Osmo Pocket 2. I know I'm tilting forward, but as the camera gets closer, it's also sort of leveling out. I think it worked pretty well. Day 12. This was, I guess, a Sunday morning. It rained most of the day here, so I sorted a bunch of my new hardware into parts bins, got rid of a bunch of garbage from my toolbox, packaging, stripped screws, bent nails, things like that just ended up in the toolbox. I did a bunch of testing with the GoPro and the ND filters. It didn't really work. Indoors, the GoPro with an ND filter is just no-go. It needs a high ISO for indoors generally, and so stopping it down even 4 stops is not a good plan. And so the footage was looking pretty grainy. I don't know if I actually kept any of that footage to show you as B-roll, but I'm learning it. That evening, I felt like I hadn't done enough. I'd done stuff. I went for a bike ride, feeling good about that, but I hadn't really done anything that I could show people. So I spent an hour and a half maybe going through my field recording to edit folder. All of the files from the Piper's Lagoon session from last month, had a video about that. I got that all edited down into files from my library. So about 10 different ambience files from that. Not bad. Day 13, I made a little holder for SD cards on my desk, and this has been great. This little thing has helped me feel a lot more organized. This little holder seems to be working really well for me. All it is some picture frame scrap that I had. I went to a thrift store and I saw this broken frame. I'm like, hey, can I have this? And they're like, yeah. I've ended up using that for a few different projects. The slot was already like SD card size, and that again has been paste waxed. This day I also restored this old Stanley screwdriver. By restored, I mean like I scraped off any sort of paint and varnish type stuff on it, sanded it, scrubbed it with steel wool, some parts with some sandpaper, and then some wax. And it's a really like cute size. It's comfortable. Yeah, it's just a nice old tool that's had a life before it came to me, and now it's a tool that I can use, and maybe 10 years from now my son will have it. So while I had that paste wax out, I ended up waxing pretty much all the tools that are on my workbench. Just gave them another quick coat, buff down with a rag, and hit with a heat gun to sort of get that wax to penetrate into the wood. And you just do that every once in a while, just from it kind of wears off as you're using the tools, or over time the wood absorbs more of it and it kind of gets dried out, and then you can apply more. It's one of those things like you apply a couple coats when you first do the tool restoration. A month later you apply a bit more. 6 months later you apply a bit more, that sort of thing. So that left a lot of wax on my workbench. Plus I had all this like stain residue and stuff like that. So I just scraped that all down and finally gave the workbench a clean. That's something I don't think I've done in months. This was a Monday, and this was a holiday Monday. So I actually went out with my daughter for a hike. And so on the hike, I took my GX7 along with my most professional lens, the Olympus 12-40 f2.8 Pro. Pro meaning that it doesn't change the focus as you zoom in. It doesn't decrease the f-stop. Like it doesn't go to f5.6 when you zoom in. It stays at 2.8 the entire range. It also has a nice ring that you can click so that you can instantly go to manual focus even if you were in autofocus, which is pretty nice. So I took that and a variable ND, and unfortunately I don't have any like lens caps or covers that work with the ND filter. So I think I need to actually make something. What I did during this trip was just cover it with a bandana and put an elastic around it. It works, but I think I can come up with something better. Yeah, so I'm gonna have an ND filter, maybe a diffusion filter, anything on the lens, and still have it protected in a bag or when it's hanging off my sling. I haven't fully edited the raw pictures yet, but I think there's actually some pretty decent ones in there. And I'm really glad that I took the camera out, even though it's a lot of extra weight. And yeah, I'm probably not going to do anything with the photos. It's a skill that I need to maintain, I think. And then finally, the last thing I did on day 13, which is a pretty productive day, was put up the shelf that you can see in the back there. I kind of regret not centering it over those 4 panels. Kind of wanted it pushed over to the black acoustic panel. By putting up that shelf, I was able to put the wood panel speaker collection that I have up on the shelf, since I don't actually use them, along with a couple other things. And then instead of them being on the amp stack, I was able to move a bunch of stuff off the floor, basically. I was able to clean up my studio, which felt great because I kept thinking I have nowhere to put things. I procrastinated on doing the shelf for months because I didn't know what to put up there. That's not even going to be visible. I'm using a weird lens for this right now. Let's do that since it's on my mind. So this is my normal shot with my pro lens. And this is what you were seeing before. Yeah, this is a Vivitar 28 millimeter f2.8 with an adapter. So this is a vintage lens. And this is a super wide angle Mikador. I think it's a 0.45 reduction in focal length. And so yeah, that makes this angle actually pretty usable. I'll take off the and so this lens without the wide angle, I mean, it's a good look, but it's way too close. So I wouldn't be able to reach the camera to focus it if I used this lens, but I actually like the look quite a lot. In last week's recap video, I did use this lens combination, but I did it on a camera. I did it on this camera, which does not have a flip out screen and does not have HDMI for an external monitor. So, yeah, I missed focus. So, day 14. I moved the air conditioner downstairs after cleaning it. I thought I had reached the landing, but it was on the last step. It fell forward a little bit, hit my knee again, where I was already injured, which sucks. And so while I'm down there in the basement, I put up a couple hooks. I've got a few spare bike tires, and so they're kind of just in the way. Yesterday, I also went through the GoPro Labs QR control, and I realized that there's actually some settings that will show you ISO and shutter speed on the camera without having to go into a menu. I think that's going to be a game changer for me. I also learned from a video that to use stabilization and a low frame rate, like 24 FPS, you need to set the shutter speed to something like 96. And so I've done that. I will take video today on my bike ride of what that looks like, and that will go into the video right here, and I will say if that worked or not. Well, it looks okay. Maybe a little dark. This was his ND16. Probably could have done 8 today. I'm still getting used to log footage, but this is looking pretty good. And I think my plan for using the GoPro will be GoPro outside, Osmo Pocket to inside, unless I'm using this camera, my G85, or I might use this because sometimes this works pretty nicely as well. It's nice to have just the manual controls of everything kind of like right there, not having to go into a menu. And the last project was fixing this garlic pot. Garlic pot is just where you store your garlic. filing that down, and super glue, and where there were gaps, I used some baking soda as a filler and accelerant to fill those holes, and then just sanding it down. And super glue is softer than ceramic glaze, so it's no big deal to sand that down with sandpaper. You're not really going to scratch it. But basically, I saved this from the garbage. I'm happy I'm able to do that. Kind of insignificant project for everyone else probably, but it's something that we use every single day because we cook every day and we use garlic every day. Anyways, so I think that's it for the update this week. Don't feel awesome about the week as a whole. I'm really happy with how the synth panels work out. Could have done better. Could have been a lot worse. But I'm happy with how that turned out, and functionally, it's very good. I also spent a lot of time playing with the Edge this week. I didn't actually record anything, but I jammed probably like 3 hours on it over the course of the week. And yeah, learning a lot, getting good sounds. I just got to remember to hit record before I start doing it, but I never do. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you found this interesting, useful. Check out Evan's build days. He is killing it with the daily uploads and interesting projects every single time, and great footage every single time, great audio every time. Like, he is just doing awesome. So yeah, I'm really happy to be part of this project in a way. See you next week.